My name is Joe Krug. I am the founder and CEO of Finsweet. We are a 45-person Webflow exclusive agency. That means we only work inside Webflow. If it's not Webflow, we don't want to touch it. We do work on the agency side. We are now starting to launch our products and community side of Finsweet. So we're all about Webflow. We love it. And that's why I'm here, because this is a Webflow focused group. And I'm just excited to always speak to this community.
I love it. And maybe a little backstory. Do you remember kind of why you got into your agency, how you started, and maybe even how you found your first client?
Sure. I started a little bit by mistake. It was just making some websites for a company I was working for because they didn't have enough money to hire someone to make the website. So I was trying to play with it and learn a little bit, and I found out that I loved it. So once I broke off with that company, I said, let me start making websites. Let me do this as a side project, a side gig, to try and earn some money while I find out what I want to do. And that is exactly what I wanted to do, make websites. So I just kept making them, and it naturally turned into the agency.
I love it. And then curious to know, if you weren't doing your agency today, what would Joe be doing?
Well, I would very likely be selling things online. I could imagine myself as an Amazon something, somebody that just really sells a lot of stuff online. The reason is I used to sell a lot on eBay. So my first interaction with the internet was all eBay. I loved it. And I could see myself picking that up on a professional level at scale. So I could see myself there. But I am very glad I'm not there, because the Webflow side is just so much more appealing than that.
Love it. Thanks so much for kind of giving that little backstory. And so now I'm just going to jump into some of the questions that we had people submit to us throughout the week as we were promoting this. And of course, if you do have any questions, as mentioned, feel free to drop them in the comments. And as long as we have time, we'll try to get as many questions as we can today. So first question we got in, wondering, how do you go about finding and hiring good team members for your Webflow agency?
Finding and hiring. I love when people come to Finsweet. That's the best way that we hire people. When people come to us, send a message, and explain how much they want to be a part of Finsweet. So that didn't happen right away, of course. This is something that we worked up to, and now we're at the point where people come to us. But before that time, just picking people out in the community, going through the showcase, finding a cool project, sending that person a message, seeing what's up. Are you working for an agency? Do you run an agency? Are you doing this for 1 hour each day in between your full-time job? That is how you can find early people. And that's exactly how I found the first 10 or so people at Finsweet.
I love it. And Payton, you're on here too. And I know you have a team of, I think it's 13 at this point for your paid academy or paid digital
Mhm.
agency itself.
Yeah,
Can
around
you
there.
maybe, do you have anything to chime in about maybe finding and hiring good team members, or the importance of having good team members on your side?
Yeah, man, I would totally agree with Joe. I think having people that are really eager and excited to work with you, those are often the people that I feel like are going to go above and beyond and really care about kind of the growth of the business rather than just getting paid. So I think that's awesome. I think a lot of the questions that I had for Joe kind of surround building a team and how to hire good people. And I would maybe even to kind of follow up with another question for Joe. When you are building that team, do you have a lot of instances where people aren't a good fit? And like, are you guys cycling through people a lot? Are you firing people a lot? Like, how does that whole process go for you?
It's rare that we pick somebody that doesn't work out.
Hmm.
Usually the people that we bring in do work out. And that's usually because we look for people that are hard workers and people that don't care about making the money as much as growing personally, growing professionally, just like you said. So when you find somebody that does that, we're in an industry where you can teach those skills. This is not some physical activity that only some people can do. Most people can learn Webflow. Most people can learn the core concepts of SEO. So as long as you can teach somebody that, you can bring on people very quickly, and they don't have to be experienced people. So yeah, I think we have a pretty high rate of people working out very well at the company and growing. And this is I would say a skill. You know, I'm speaking very recently, as in the last 3 years of hiring people. I've gotten better and better and better at this, but absolutely earlier in Finsweet, there was a higher cycle rate. Absolutely, especially with designers, that you bring somebody on, you think they're awesome, and they're just not awesome. And they already started the project, and it's just a mess. So yeah, that's something you can be better at, identifying who's a good worker, who's motivated, who has the baseline skills to learn on top of. And yeah, that's how I would answer that question. Did I miss anything there in the question?
No, that's awesome. And I guess to even follow up with that question again, I think a lot of people in the group are in a position where they're just starting their agency. They're probably doing all the work themselves. Within the group, a lot of people are offering, design and development and also SEO kind of in conjunction with that. But a lot of these people are just starting out. And I think hiring that first 1 or 2 people can be really intimidating, because first off, it's hard to spend money on something when, up to that point, it's kind of all your money. Everything you make is just yours, right? And you're starting to learn how to allot more of the business's finances towards hiring people. And so I don't know if that's something that you could share with us, but I know in my agency, we've tried every pricing structure, from paying a salary to paying hourly to paying per project. What would you suggest to people that are just starting out and maybe looking to hire their first couple team members?
First few team members, definitely don't start with a fixed monthly income. I highly recommend against it. I think it's the worst thing you can do, because it's highly risky. If that person doesn't work out, in 3 months, you've just paid a full salary and you probably didn't get the return you were expecting. So before that person proves themselves, go hourly, or I like to go per project. So I don't care how long you spend on it. The deal is you have to work on this project. When it's complete, when it's delivered, you get paid this, or you get half here and then half at the end. And that really pushes people to deliver. When you're on a fixed monthly, there is a little bit less of an urge to deliver, and you want to find those people who deliver early on. And if they don't deliver, that's it, 1 month, done. So yeah, that kind of test is super, super important.
I love it. And we had a comment here, and I feel like everyone probably sensed this. Raymond said that he was scared to death when he hired his first team member, but it worked out in the long term. And
Yeah.
I'm sure there's always a little bit of fear, but something you kind of just have to dive into. And kind of segue again from team members. So obviously you have a full team at Finsweet today, but when you first started, and correct me if I'm wrong, but when you first started, you were doing all the design and development yourself, and you were pretty much a freelancer, if that's fair to say. Now you have the team. We're curious to know, what's kind of your daily role at Finsweet now that you have a team? Are you just more project management? Are you kind of just overseeing things? Do you still jump into design and development at all at Finsweet?
I do not do any designer development. Day to day, I like to see myself as a leader. I am leading people to do their job better. Maybe that means I'm part of the project, I'm helping out. Maybe that means I'm giving some advice to help somebody work better or faster or make the right decisions. Maybe I am, guiding people. That's the best way to put it, leading people in the right direction to complete their jobs. So that's how I see my day. And because of that, every single day is different. I don't have any meetings during the day. It's very rare. I haven't had a meeting. I haven't been on camera speaking like this at all this week, except for our 2 live shows on Tuesday and Thursday. So the schedule is highly clear, because I'm always ready to act to help people complete something, do something, answer something. You know, if I get a question from our head of sales with an important time sensitive issue, but I have development to do and design to do and other things to do, I won't be able to assist him. I won't be able to lead him in that right direction to figure out what the next steps are. So I always have myself available. And I do a lot of communication inside Loom. Screen sharing software, record your screen, speak over the screen. Let me give a little bit of context in how Loom can help with communication all over. And this is something that I do daily. This is why it's part of the answer here. With Loom, I'm able to onboard anybody to any project. I'm able to give visual advice immediately. I don't have to schedule a meeting to give that advice. And I can actually give people new jobs at the company in just an hour-long Loom video. So I'm communicating, I'm putting all of this information out here in Looms to help people take next steps. This is a great thing to do when you bring your first hire on, your second hire on, because they need to learn from you. You need to lead them. If you're bringing somebody into your company, into your brand, you need to lead them to follow your brand rules, your brand guidelines, your brand quality level. So when somebody doesn't know how to do something, you can film a video, a Loom telling them, hey, this is exactly how I would do it. I'm going to film this 10 minutes of me going through this Webflow project and showing you exactly how it's done by a professional, by me. And now you never have to ask me that question again. You never have to do this again because you know how to do it. I just showed you the best way to do it, or the way that I would do it. So this is how you onboard people to new positions. This is how you communicate within your small or very large team. And that's really what I do on a day-to-day basis.
I love it. And that's a definitely great power tip for all agency and freelancers out there. Definitely subscribe to Loom. I believe they offer a free version. And so definitely use that to your advantage in order to either communicate with your team members, but I also find it valuable to communicating with some of your clients. You know, oftentimes I'll find myself jumping on a video as well to quickly explain something to a client, as opposed to reaching out to that client, you know, trying to set up a time just because it can be done in 5 minutes via Loom video. And I find they really like that, you know, personal interaction of you taking the time to film yourself. You know, they're seeing a human, communicating with them. And so I love that tip. Thank you so much for sharing that, Joe. And kind of jumping along to the next questions, we have one came in that says, what would you say is the most valuable thing you have learned from starting and running your agency?
That's a good one. I am going to answer as leadership. That is such an important skill, and you never have the experience with leadership until you have people to lead, which is not something that people experience sometimes ever in their life. So at the point where I found myself, I'm no longer working on day-to-day activities at Finsweet. I am leading activities at Finsweet. That was a major turning point in the way that I approached the business. So that was a really valuable learn. And yeah, I would say in any other future practice, in any other business I do or any other initiative, that leadership, I think, will be at the base of it. So that's a big win for me.
I love it. And actually, since we have you on here too, I want to ask you the same question, Payton. What do you think is the most valuable thing you've learned from starting and running your agency?
Yeah, I was thinking about this as we were going over these questions. I think very similar to Joe. I think being able to find good team members and then make sure that they have a good direction. Obviously doing that through leadership, but that's something that I've made a lot of mistakes with. I've hired great people and not trained them well. I've had great team members that I have not communicated with well enough to keep them on track. But I've also had, great team members that I don't know if it was due to my leadership or training, but that have done a great job. And especially going through chemo over the past several months, I was very much out of the picture, and my team stepped up in a really big way and did some awesome things. And they picked up tasks that they didn't normally take on. And yeah, so I think relying heavily on a team and doing your best to give them good direction and kind of cut them loose and trust them to do things, and not feeling like you have to micromanage. Like, all of these are skills and things that I've learned through making big mistakes. But they're so valuable when you're trying to grow a business and get out of the weeds and get out of the design and development yourself, and try to build something bigger than just a freelance business. Those are all things that are just critical to your success. But also, like Joe said, you don't really learn that leadership until you're in a position to lead people. And so the best way to do that is to kind of make the jump and start bringing on team members and outsourcing and experimenting with these things, because I think very quickly you'll get a grasp on it. It won't seem so scary. And then before you know it, you're going to be scaling and bringing on more people and landing bigger clients and taking on more projects. And it really does go quickly once you get that ball rolling.
I love that you mentioned that tidbit at the end, because we actually have a bit of a follow-up question here from Saul Vega. And Joe, he was wondering, how do you make that transition to leading instead of working in your business? Any kind of tips on that you'd like to share?
Loom videos. I keep going back to these same concepts. If you don't want to do something, create a Loom video of how to do it and send it to somebody on your team. And now they do it. It could really be that easy. When I find myself doing a task that I just think, hey, I don't have to do this, somebody else can do this, I will outsource it. And I usually outsource it with a 5 to 1 hour long Loom video, right? It may be a long process, showing somebody how the Zap works, or showing somebody how this project is set up. Now that person has a new responsibility. And it's usually a kind of important one, because you were doing it, you as the leader. So you don't have to look at it as just giving people all the work you don't want to do. It's looking at it as, I'm giving this work to other people so I can focus on bigger things, more important things. Maybe we bring somebody on for this task. Maybe the person doing it is doing it temporarily. We need to hire somebody for it. Or maybe that person will do it forever. I'll give an example. I realized about 2 or 3 years ago that I needed somebody to do a lot of operations work here. I was doing all the operations work. I was doing all the agency invoicing work. It was way too much. So I brought somebody on, great work ethic, not very knowledgeable, but great work ethic. And I just filmed Loom video after Loom video of all the operational things that I am no longer doing. And within about 2 or 3 months, this person was fully onboarded to all the operations tasks. And he ended up being really good at it. And now he has grown to a point where he has given those tasks to other people. Other people are doing those original tasks. And now he is managing a small team at a higher level. So this is how you can make that transition from, hey, I'm doing this, to now somebody else is doing this and I'm focusing on the next thing. And this will constantly happen, right? You may pick up that new task, and then in 6 months you say, I'm great at this task, but I don't need to do it anymore. The process is in place. Now I will hand it off.
I absolutely love that. And kind of taking turns, moving away a bit, we have a few people asking about the Finsweet website. And I definitely want to talk about this because everyone in Webflow community knows and loves the Finsweet website. It's, in my opinion, probably the coolest agency website I've ever seen out there. And I have heard you talk a bit about the website, but maybe could you talk about how did that website come to be? Just the whole design and everything of it?
Sure. I look at the current website and I just think it's so old. And it's old because we built it like 3 years ago. And that's pretty old for a website design in our industry, especially for a web development company. But I made the decision that if we're going to release a website, it is going to be fantastic. It needs to absolutely be significantly better than the past version. And I made that decision probably in year 2 of Finsweet. We used to have a super minimalist site, and I said, let's do something wild. Built that site. It was wild. It was awesome. Then built it again, a wild site. That's the current version. This is the second wild site. And this site, the goal was build something that has never been built in Webflow, build something you've never seen before in the design world, and just don't follow any of the rules. Do something totally different. And it's great. It's a very cool website. But our company has really evolved since that site was built. That site shows us as an agency, and that's it. The homepage is all about agency work and our agency side. But since then, we now do these products, these tools, the content, the community. It's such a bigger brand. And right now we're building the next one. We've been working on it for like a year now. It's really going to be next level. It's following that same mindset, that same concept. It is full 3D. It's highly performant, and the animals are on a different level of 3D interaction. It's just, it will blow your mind. And we are working on it, and it's almost done, but it's been almost done for like 8 months now. So yeah, it's one of those projects that we're not going to release it until it's ready. That's a dangerous concept. I don't recommend that you have it for your agency site because it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of money. I think you should build a really great agency site, but you shouldn't have delays in your agency site. Right now, we had delays. I made a decision a few months ago. This is now top priority. So I turned everybody on that was working on it and said, you're no longer working on anything else. New site is the top priority. So yeah, I was all over the place with that answer, but I hope I answered it.
That's awesome, man. That's got me excited. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah. Yes.
Payton and I are grinning cheek to cheek.
Yeah, that's
waiting
right.
for the new site. And you heard it here first. Or I don't know if you said it elsewhere, but new Finsweet website coming soon, or maybe not coming soon, but new Finsweet website is coming. And like Payton said, I can't wait to see that. I'm super excited to see what you guys have. I'm super excited. And kind of talking about websites, we had a question here from Adam, and he asked, what do you think of putting pricing and packages on your website for everyone to see? And I think that's a pretty good question that maybe we could get both of your inputs on. But Joe, if you want to kick things off.
I like being transparent with the pricing. I like being forward and upfront with pricing ranges. I have an on and off relationship with this showing specific packages. We used to show packages on finsweet.com. We do not show packages anymore because we started to move into a different type of project that has too many factors to put into a package. Technical work, development work, like 10 pages of development work can be very different if they all look the same versus every single one is custom. So how do you put that into a package? So we took packages off. I'm no longer a fan of putting packages. The new website will not have packages, but it will be highly transparent with pricing. Maybe this is our minimum. Maybe expect to spend between this amount and this amount, depending on what you offer. But I like to be transparent with the pricing because I really hate when unqualified people reach out and expect you to work with them. And I want those people to never reach out to us and be scared by the pricing on the website and saying, ooh, I'm not spending this much money. No way. There's no chance I'm going to work with this company. And great, we don't want to work with you. We want to work with people who spend this amount of money or more, or who look at this number and they're not scared. They're not going to say, this is wild for me. When we did this on our website, we did put the packages and we were transparent about the pricing. We turned off those messages overnight. We put them on, and literally overnight, we stopped getting emails about low cost projects. It was amazing. So I do recommend transparency.
Love it. Do you have anything to maybe add on to that, Payton, yourself?
Yeah, we've gone through a lot of different changes to try to figure out how to kind of get rid of those unqualified prospects. We use on our website Calendly, and I just do strategy calls, and I still do all of the sales calls. That's one thing that I really enjoy doing. But there's been several times where I've kind of removed the option of, what is your budget range? Is it 0 to 5,000, 5 to 10? And then it goes, like we get rid of that bottom range and we get maybe a few less calls, but I don't have to talk to those unqualified people that want a $2,000 website. And so slowly over time, I've started to remove those. And I think we're to the point where we'll probably drop that bottom option again. It's always hard because I love taking on a $5,000 website that I can put a new designer on and say, this is your sandbox, this is your playground to see how you do with this project. But I feel like we are to that point where we're going to have to drop that to, that bottom package again and kind of raise our rates. The second thing that I would say on that is in these strategy calls or sales calls, I find that if people see pricing too early, that's all they can think about. And it gets really difficult to then, if they see the price at, 20,000, let's say, that's all they're focusing on. And it's going to be really hard to build up the value of your service and expertise to match or surpass that price. But what I found is if I can spend a good amount of time on these calls, building up the value and really helping people start to feel like, man, like everything that I'm going to get is awesome. This website's going to be incredible. The performance, the leads, the sales, all of these benefits. And then at the end, I come in with pricing. At least I found it much easier to convince them of the pricing and that it's going to be worth it. And so I like to be very transparent, but also save that more towards the middle or the end of the conversation. That way I have time to focus on the benefits before pricing too much, if that makes sense.
I love it. Thanks so much for sharing that, Payton.
I'd love to add, can I add that that is a totally valid concern, and that, showing the pricing too early could lock people into pricing that maybe they shouldn't be into. Maybe they actually want to spend more, they want more services, but they're stuck on this price that was shown to them. So yeah, that is a concern. I love the range concept where you said, are you a 0 to 5? Are you a 5 to 10? Are you a 10 to 15? I love the ranges because that, I think, qualifies people without really locking them into a single price. And if they say, hey, I'm comfortable in 10 to 15, then I can actually pitch them for something in 10 to 15 that works for our company. For 10,000, you can get this. For 12,000, you can get this. And for your max 15, you get this other thing. So yeah, it's a different strategy, but I totally agree with you, Payton, that it can ruin the conversation. I totally agree.
I saw that a lot and I actually just posted this on my Instagram, but the biggest site that our agency has ever sold was a $75,000 site. And before we sold that site, I had never done anything for more than probably 15 to 20,000. And so I just didn't even think it was possible. And this client was a referral. And so I had kind of an insider that was kind of telling me what the CEO was thinking. And he basically came to me and he said, they spent over $50,000 on their last site and they're willing to spend more, but if you underbid it, it's going to scare them off. And without that insider information, I probably would have come in at $20,000 and they would have said, no, we're not interested. And so that really changed my perspective of, hey, I want to spend time talking to these people and seeing what their expectations are, what their budget range is, because then I can completely change my pricing. And up to that point, I didn't even have anything to show that we could charge $75,000. So I had to completely create a brand new proposal and page to show that price range. And so that taught me a lot, that you never want to kind of shoot yourself in the foot too early when you could be hitting a higher price range and reaching the expectations of a client that potentially could be ready to spend a lot more.
That is so true. As you get to these bigger companies that have formal budgets, that have expectations from past work, you can scare people off, which is such a wild thought that if you said 20, they would have thought it was low value and low quality and then said no to you, that they're looking to spend 50 to 100. If you come in at 40, you're too low. If you come in at 105, you're too high. So yeah, the range thing, that's a good example of finding that range and then selling the project for that range. Love it.
I love that as well. And people are commenting as well that they love the price range idea. So thanks so much for sharing that, Payton. And kind of as we're talking about large clients, Joe, do you have any tips for someone? How do you go about finding those large clients with those budgets or having them find you?
Well, when you have a large lead reach out to you, you need to do everything in your power to get that project, even if that means working for a little bit less than you should be. Sometimes there are companies that would say no to an underquote, but sometimes there are big companies that actually have low budgets. There are some companies that we've worked with that have spent a ridiculously low amount of money with us, but they're huge. They're publicly traded companies, but this little division of the company has very small budget. So you need to get those people working with you. It doesn't matter what they're looking to spend. It doesn't matter anything. When you say, I've worked with HelloSign, I've worked with Intuit, I've worked with Dropbox, I've worked with WeTransfer. Once you start dropping these names, it attracts other people. Bigger companies that see those names are more likely to reach out to you. When they do reach out to you, you can say, I've worked with HelloSign, Dropbox, WeTransfer, and Intuit. And now you're showing real work, you're dropping big names, and that's how you start to pick up that momentum. But it starts with maybe making some sacrifices. I'm not saying that you should undercharge for all of your work, but if it comes down to getting the project and undercharging or not getting the project, you need to get the project. So that would be my recommendation for getting those big companies to come to you. That's a much more difficult task. You need to be a bit creative with that. For example, my first big project with HelloSign, they posted a random forum post asking if a Webflow developer was available. And I jumped on it really hard. Random. It just randomly came to me. I saw the opportunity and I would not let it go. And that's what started the whole snowball effect of large companies.
I love that. And then maybe on the opposite side of the spectrum, we have, do you have any advice for someone who's just starting off their agency?
Yeah, don't expect that you're going to get a huge client. That last thing doesn't apply to you. You need to do that same concept for any company that's willing to work with you, any live public website that's ready to do work, you need to go and work with them because you need to build your portfolio. Once you build your portfolio, everything becomes a little bit easier. But when you start out and you have nothing in your portfolio, it is the most difficult position in your entire agency life. Even when you have one project or maybe two projects, that may not be enough to sell the leads that are coming in or the friends that you have or the person down the block that you asked. So you need to build that portfolio. That's step number one. And you need to do that in any way that you can.
I love that. And I completely agree. I will feel like getting a portfolio up and running, 2-3 websites is definitely going to be number one priority. I feel like things changed dramatically for me personally as soon as I got my first couple of websites that I was able to show I've done this, and it helps if it relates to, other businesses that you're going to be working with and stuff. So definitely love that. Cool. Let's see. Jumping on to Finsweet, we're curious to know. So where do you see Finsweet in the future? Maybe in 5, 10, 20 years? What's kind of the game plan for you?
We are going to be 3 different branches: agency, product, and community. Historically, we were just agency, and now we're playing with product and community. We are now officially starting to make money from these other initiatives. So that's great. These three pillars, I think, will really be seen as leaders in Webflow. So right now, I talked a lot about leading the team at Finsweet, and I want the team at Finsweet to be leading the Webflow community. Thought leadership, something like client first, being able to properly organize your project the way that we would do it at Finsweet, using attributes, helping people really do more with the Webflow project, more advanced functionality without writing code. These types of things we're going to be focusing on growing, and that's going to lead to more product development. That's going to lead to SaaS products, being able to charge monthly for this and start to earn revenue. And the community side, we want to have a large community. We want to do events. We want to, just engage people inside this ecosystem. So in 5 years, I see all of these really working well together. And really the agency, I see this as it's the testing ground for these other environments, this product environment and the community environment. When we make a product, the first people to test it are doing work on client sites. They have the use cases. They're the ones implementing. So they're all going to work together, and it's going to be a really, I think, a really important part of the Webflow ecosystem.
I love it. And personally, I'm super excited to see everything that you guys put together. I know you guys have been super helpful to the Webflow community and everything you guys done. And it's kind of mind blowing too at times what you guys have, you guys have pretty much reverse engineered Webflow at times and figured out how to do stuff that is mind blowing to me. So super excited to see what you guys do. I'm very thankful for it as well. Scrolling through, kind of going back to the large company question, we had a Brian Fritsch ask, how do we research a company when considering the range method so our offer fits if we don't have, insider information? So maybe in short, how do you research a company in order to determine what to quote them? Kind of understand.
Ask. The best way to do it is to ask. There is no research that you can properly do to understand what a budget is. Like I said, we work with gigantic companies that had small budgets. We work with small companies that happen to have gigantic budgets because the founder sold their last business for however much money and they're investing a lot here. There's no official right answer to that. So just ask. Say, hey, I'm going to prepare a couple of proposals. I'm going to list some of the things that we can do for you based on our conversation. Tell me what your price ranges are, and I can give you a proposal at your low range, a mid range, and a high range. This is not meant to trick the person or get the better end of the deal or the better negotiating power. That is not the point of this. The point is to truly understand what they want to spend, and based on that spend, tell them what you can deliver at that investment level. And usually when you gauge it like this, you explain it like this, I want to give you the low quote, the mid quote, and the high quote. But in order to do that, I need to know what you want to spend. Usually people respond pretty positively about this. If they don't, if they say, hey, I'm not giving you any information, nothing. I don't know what I want to spend. I want to see the number and then make a decision. Whatever you think is best, whatever you think your time is worth. If I did all these tasks, how much would I want to be paid? If I did all these tasks, how much would I want to be paid? And that's how you would approach it if they don't tell you that number. That's how I do it.
I love it. And maybe do you have any specific tips on how, a freelancer agency owner, how they should go about determining their prices, maybe when starting off or maybe more into it?
Well, trying to think what I did early on. I would pick what feels right to you. For this work, I'm making a website for this person. It's going to take 2 days. It's going to take 2 weeks. It's going to take 2 months. I'm going to work nights and weekends. I'm going to work just 1 hour a day. whatever this task is worth, how much do you want to be paid for it? How much feels good to you? How would you be happy with a payment based on this work? That's where I like to start. My first website I sold for $500, which is low. I was living in New York. This is a relatively low amount of money for the type of work that's being performed. But I was incredibly excited about that. This was so exciting. And I felt like I was getting so much money because I was having fun. I was learning. I wasn't really concerned with the money. And at that time, I was happy with it. But then I got better and better and better and better. Things took longer because I got better clients. And then I looked back and said, well, I wouldn't do this type of work anymore for $500. I don't feel right about that anymore because I'm better. So start with just feeling yourself, right? And then once you start to get your projects in and you see what people want to pay for your work and what people won't pay for your work, that's when you start formalizing your prices. But in the beginning, it's just random. It's what you feel.
Love it. Do you have anything to maybe add on to that, Payton?
Yeah, I think also thinking back to when I first started, I was far more desperate for projects and I had far less confidence. And I feel like over time, as you get more experience, land more clients, get a bigger portfolio, start earning more money, you get less and less desperate for work, and you can be a little bit more picky. And that's when you kind of gain more confidence to say, hey, I'm going to increase the rates at which I'm pitching people at. And you'll find that that confidence is contagious, and people are going to go with that and say, okay, if you say that this is a $10, $15, $20,000 website, then okay. And you can feel right about that, like Joe said, because you are better at what you do. And so you can deliver $20,000 worth of value in that website. And so, yeah, I would say just starting out, you're going to charge much less, and you need to get that portfolio going. You need to have more projects to show people, but also don't be afraid to push that process and continually, you're never going to know if somebody's going to say yes to a $20,000 website until you pitch it. And if they say no, that's not the end of the world. You can always, continue to negotiate with that project, but don't be afraid to raise your rates, but also don't be afraid to work for less when you first start out, because that's what all of us have had to do.
I love it. Moving along through the comments, question that came in: how do you deal with clients that are overbearing? And I'll personally add to this. I know one thing that's real in the web design industry is scope creep. So could you maybe touch on, dealing with clients and potentially scope creep? Joe?
Yep. The most important thing when dealing with these clients is to make sure that you don't deal with more of them in the future. It's really hard to fix the issue in the project. There are things that you can do to improve, but once you're in the middle of a project, you can't just cut the client off. You're in the project, you're going to complete it, both parties expect it. So think, why did this happen? Why am I working with somebody that is terrible? Did I notice something in the lead process, in the sale process, that may identify this type of person? Are they doing something that I should look out for in the future? Because what you don't want to do is continue working with these types of people. If you just do it a few times, it's a short-term problem. If you work with these people all the time, you now have a long-term company problem. So prevention, that's my top recommendation. Once you get into these bad relationships, figure it out, prevent it. When you're in those relationships and you do not like what's happening, I really recommend being transparent about it. Never being rude about it. Do not get angry with your clients. Do not get rude with your clients. Always, always stay on the professional side. Always stay on the calm and collected side. And tell them, hey, the project is for this, and this. This is a different task because it requires this integration, it requires this and this. I expect this at about 5 to 6 hours of additional work. You can tell them that you're going to charge differently for that work. Be transparent about it. Don't hold it back. Don't We don't want our clients to scope creep, but we also don't want to charge them for every tiny thing over the scope. There will be things that are asked above scope, and you just should do them. You shouldn't fight them. And then there are things that you say, hey, this should not be done. This is not part of the scope. So identifying that is difficult. I don't know. I guess my overall answer to that is be transparent. Just say it. If something's really bothering you, don't hold it back, because it's just going to be a terrible situation for you.
Love it. Thanks so much for sharing that information. Kind of jumping back onto Finsweet itself, would you be able to talk about, one, how did you come up with the Finsweet name? And two, do you have any branding advice for people starting up their agencies?
Sure. Finsweet I came up with because I wanted a cool name that had a hidden meaning. I didn't know what that was, but I just knew I wanted it to be cool and have a hidden meaning. So I thought of all these different things that I could do. And when I came on Finsweet, I just liked it. It sounded good. I thought it was funny. And yeah, I went with it. I always thought it was going to be a side project, a side business. So I didn't put a lot of thought into it. This was like a 1 or 2 hour thought session. And I thought, hey, this is just on the side. This is not my primary thing. So who really cares what this is called? But man, it was a great decision. We really took advantage of that branding aspect of Finsweet. So a bit random, but it worked out for us long term.
And kind of adding along to that, Kareem asked, I would love to hear your opinion on branding yourself as a freelancer / consultant versus branding yourself as a studio / agency. Do you have any opinions on that, whether one is better than the other, and so forth?
I wouldn't say one is better than the other. I would say they're two different strategies. If you're marketing yourself as a freelancer, you should put yourself on your brand. You need an about me page. You need pictures of yourself. Put some family photos on there. I mean, people really need to know you and feel who you are as a freelancer if they're going to work with you. That's my opinion on it. Get real personal. Because you're marketing yourself. If I was a freelancer, I'm marketing Joe Krug, not some alias brand name. You're working with Joe Krug. You're not working with Finsweet. So that's one strategy, and that's great. And there are some people that just want to work with freelancers. The agency side, you're not putting the about me page. You're not going to have a feature of you all throughout the website. You push a team on agency. And even if you're just starting out, if you intend to have a team, you can call yourself an agency even as one person. I came up with the name Finsweet, and it was just me for, I don't know, a year. So I don't see a problem with that, because I always knew it was going to grow to more people and grow into an agency. So there was no, let's say, ethical issue of me calling it myself an agency. I think if you plan to always be solo, you should just be a freelancer. If you plan to have at least one other person working with you, you should start agency. That's where I see scaling of people on the agency side. And my favorite thing about the agency strategy is you get to charge more. Even if you are a single person working under an agency, you are just able to charge more money, because there's this idea that there's a team behind an agency. There's more administrative costs. There's more operation costs. If something happens to the person working on your project, there's somebody else to help. Somebody else will contact you. So you just charge more as an agency. So there's no right or wrong strategy. This is a you answer. This is, do I want to be a single person, or do I want to build myself under an agency? I want more people joining here.
I love that. And I'm curious to hear if you have any thoughts to share as well, Payton. I know yours is kind of I feel like maybe a hybrid. I don't know if that's fair to say, where you kind of, you yourself are part of the brand, but you're also kind of presented as an agency. So kind of curious to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I think we've gone back and forth on it a lot. I think I started as a freelancer, and that was where the name Payton Digital came from. It was kind of play on my own name. And then we transitioned into an agency. And then as I started my YouTube channel, we started to get a lot of new clients from my YouTube channel. And so I kind of went back to maybe branding myself a little bit more into the agency. And yeah, I would agree with you. I don't think there's any one right answer. You can never go wrong with more people seeing your face and getting comfortable with you. And that's why I really enjoy YouTube, is people feel like they know me by the time they land on my site. They, even though it is an agency site, they know that it's me that's behind it. So I don't think there's any really wrong way to do it. The one thing that I would say is, I think the question of freelancer or agency and what my site looks like, and should I have my picture? And I think these are oftentimes a lot of things that we put a little too much thought into, and it can pull away. At least for me, it did pull away from the more important things like marketing your business and finding new clients and taking sales calls and getting your name out there. And so I'd say, yeah, just whatever feels right, stick to it, and then don't lose sleep over it, because you can make great money either way. But yeah, I would totally agree with what Joe said. And one thing, I guess this isn't along the same lines, but it's another question that has come up for me for Joe, if we have enough time. I don't even remember where I read it, but it was, I believe, a press release that you guys did or something like that, where you talked about no longer offering design services, but moving strictly into development. And that is something that we've been playing with, the idea, because obviously design is the biggest bottleneck. And that's where we find the most client complaints and struggles, because once you get into development, it's pretty straightforward. So what would you say, Joe? I guess, is that something that you guys are still planning to do? Is it something you're doing now? And is that something worth looking into for us that are looking to scale? Like, should we drop design altogether and just move to development? What insights could you give us on that?
We made that switch when we released that article. I think that was a year and a half ago, maybe even 2 years. And it has been amazing. It results in almost no project dropping. Sometimes in design, it just happens. You separate from the project. There's a miscommunication. Someone doesn't like the work. The CEO doesn't like the work. There was a whatever. There are problems in design work because it's so subjective. So when we made that move to development, everything just went right. We had no canceled projects. We had no end of project miscommunications or misunderstandings. We had no huge delays waiting for content. We won't talk to you unless you have some direction of content and sitemap. Develop site. We really have these strict rules that we follow now, and it's just so much more efficient. I love it. So I would say, if you're thinking about it, it is a strong decision. The only reason you wouldn't do that is if you're really good at design. And if you have a great design team that really understands high quality design and how to deliver that design. We had some people at Finsweet that were able to do that, but we also had some people that couldn't do that for everybody. Maybe they were paired with a team and they weren't delivering the style, the type that the client was looking for. So we didn't have a design focused team. We had a development focused team. So it made sense for our team. So also keep that in mind. Don't just make that change blindly if you really excel at design.
I love it. Thanks so much for sharing that. And kind of as we're wrapping up here, time went by fast. I knew it'd fly by fast. One, just want to thank you again for coming on. Hopefully this won't be the last time we have you on. I know personally myself, I learned a lot throughout this, and I'm sure everyone watching this either live right now or who catches the replay is going to get a lot of nice little tidbits out of this. All of us in this group, are at different stages of our agency / freelancer career. And so you provided something that could help all of us. So I really appreciate your time today. And I kind of just wanted to open it up for you for the last few minutes. Do you have kind of any final words you want to share with all of us? Even a shameless plug if you want, feel free to, stage is yours. Do you have anything you want to share with us, Joe?
Yeah, sure. I want to thank everybody for being here. How many people do we have on live right now?
Live. Last I saw 30 something, was it?
Great. Okay, so thank you for all the 37 people, 30 something right now. I really appreciate it. I love talking to this community. I really appreciate these questions. And we do talks like this all the time. These business talks, they're just amazing. Every Tuesday and Thursday. So if you're interested in more content about Finsweet, more about how we approach the business, Tuesdays, Thursdays, 12 Eastern. And also check out our Community Pro plan. We have now released our community subscription. This is going to give you access to courses. We just released a JavaScript course, an e-commerce GTAG course, and this is all under our Finsweet Pro account, the Community Pro. So check that out. Really thank everybody for being here. And yeah, I had a great time. Thank you so much, Fernando. Thank you, Payton.
Love it. So what I'm gonna do is put all of us on the screen at the same time. Cool. That way we could do like an awkward wave goodbye to everyone as we're zooming away. So I'm gonna take us out of the Facebook Live, Joe and Payton, if you guys want to stay on. But to everyone else for watching, thanks again. This will be available on the Facebook group for replay pretty soon after we're out of this. And yeah, we look forward to the next live events with whoever we bring on next. I'm sure Payton will find someone awesome as well again. And yeah, thanks again. Bye, everyone.